G'day legends, for this backward compatibility entry, we're going to do something a little bit different. But I did plan on doing this a few videos ago, but had a few technical difficulties. So instead of just revisiting the classic Switch 1 games, we're actually going to dive into titles that have received dedicated Switch 2 upgrades just to showcase the difference. These upgrades don't just let the game run on the new hardware, they enhance visuals, boost performance, and add new features, and in some cases, even fresh new content. And it's fascinating to see how these beloved games evolved and benefited from the extra power of the Switch 2. I'm excited to show you my favourite Switch 2 upgrades and impressions as we explore these new updates. Starting with Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild is this open world masterpiece that just redefined exploration and adventure. It remains a must play and still surprises with every climb and secret. It's also the only game that I've actually awarded a perfect score here on What's It Like. On the Switch 1, it was very well optimized for the hardware, and the game held mostly steady at 30 FPS with minor frame rate drops in areas like Korok Forest. Load times could be lengthy, especially when fast travelling. With the Switch 2 upgrade, the game runs at a smooth 60 FPS with a noticeably higher resolution and improved texture clarity. Load times are significantly faster, and it makes fast travel and shrines feel a bit more seamless. Now it does cost $20 for the upgrade, but it is free with the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack subscription. The new content and features include a higher frame rate, increased resolution for both handheld and docked modes, sharper textures and improved visual clarity, dramatically faster loading times, and the optional Zelda Notes GPS-style overlay that tracks key areas, quests and waypoints, and it can be toggled on and off. There's also enhanced audio sync and rumble feedback in selected areas. Definitely well worth the price of entry on that one, and a huge difference compared to the Switch 1. Civilization 7. Civ 7 tries its best to hold 30 FPS on the Switch 1, but performance drops noticeably in the late game. The AI turns became sluggish and asset rendering is cut back because buildings disappear when zoomed out to reduce the load on the system. Menu navigation and tile selection also needed a bit of improvement due to the touch and analog limitations. With the Switch 2 upgrade, it is significantly better. Not quite locked at 60 FPS, but performance hovers around 45 FPS to 60. Load times are drastically improved, especially during era transition and late game AI turns. City management and map navigation feel significantly more fluid. The biggest change for me was the mouse control support. Now the cost was $15 Australian for the upgrade pack. It also adds new content and features like full mouse control support, which improved interface navigation, unit management and map precision, the addition of normal and large map sizes which has just become available, faster loading across menus and map generation, sharper visuals in UI and world maps. Touchscreen input is preserved, although with mouse support it feels a bit superfluous. Improved fog of war transitions and a smoother zoom in and out. Now, while Civilization 7 may have divided fans, I still find it impossible to put down because just one more turn keeps pulling me back in. Fantasy Life I, the girl who steals time. On the Switch 1, Fantasy Life is generally stable at 30 FPS with minimal frame rate drops. Visuals are bright and charming and performance is consistent across both docked and handheld. Load times between zones can be a bit of a drag, but are still manageable. Now on the Switch 2, it's significantly faster load times, especially when entering interiors or switching zones, which you can currently see on the video. Resolution appears to be sharper across the board, and the game now targets a smooth 60 FPS, greatly improving responsiveness. This game upgrade cost me $3.90, which is a steal. At that price, I'm not sure why they didn't just make it free, but for $4 you can't really complain. It also has doubled the frame rate to 60 FPS with smoother animation, sharper UI elements, and in-game text has been improved for readability on higher res displays. It's heavily reduced the loading times, enhanced lighting and shadow detail, which is especially noticeable during weather changes and the night-day cycle, and full Switch 2 optimization, which reduced the pop-in and improved the draw distance in outdoor environments. Fantasy Life I is a charming blend of RPG and life simulation that's equal parts relaxing and engagement, and it's just perfect for slow afternoons or deep dives alike. I personally love just zoning out, putting a movie on Netflix and grinding through the professions. Fortnite. Love it or hate it, Fortnite is here to stay, and it's a game that I regularly play with my son, and we have a great time. On the Switch 1, it was a solid attempt considering the hardware limitations, but the performance has progressively got worse over time as the game's visuals and mechanics grew more demanding. It often struggled to hold frames at 30 FPS, especially in high density zones or in firefights. Asset pop-in and blurry textures were common, and it just made playing the game so difficult at times. With the Switch 2 upgrade, it's a massive difference. The game now targets 60 FPS, with actual performance hovering around 50 to 60 during most matches. Visual fidelity has been drastically overhauled, with sharper textures, detailed environments, and faster rendering. Asset loading is now instant, eliminating gameplay stutters and improving combat responsiveness. It's free because Fortnite remains free to play, so the Switch 2 upgrade is included by default. It features a higher resolution, targets 60 FPS, significantly improved visuals, including enhanced shadows, water physics, particle effects, and cloth simulation. Has a Joy-Con mouse-style control mode, which I still prefer the controls, but I'm a bit old school. Adds a replay system for reviewing matches, which was absent from the Switch 1. Full game chat support with improved mic input detection and Bluetooth audio sync. And if you got it on launch, you did get a free Wishing Star emote for players who logged in during a certain window, and my son says that that's really cool bragging points apparently. Whether you love or hate the Fortnite craze, Fortnite on Switch proved it could hold its own, especially with the Switch 2 upgrades. Hogwarts Legacy. On the Switch 1, it was a technically impressive port that brought the full Hogwarts experience to Nintendo's aging hardware. However, the compromises were clear. There was a significantly reduced draw distance, heavy fog to mask that pop-in, simplified textures, and it was capped at best at 30 FPS. Frequent loading gates segmented the world into small, explorable zones, and sometimes that could break immersion. I still gave it a 90, and it was a What's It Like certified exceptional title. With the Switch 2 upgrade, it's entirely rebuilt engine tailored for the Switch 2, and it doesn't quite match the fidelity of the Xbox Series X or PS5, but the upgrade is still massive compared to the Switch 1. Open world areas stream in seamlessly, graphical fidelity is dramatically improved, and many of the loading corridors have been eliminated. Performance is far more stable and exploration feels smoother and more natural. It's a $15 upgrade pack for people who own the Switch 1 version of the game. It features a custom Switch 2 engine rebuild, sharper textures, dynamic lighting, improved shadows, seamless open world, eliminating most of the transition doors, higher resolution models and effects, especially during combat or weather changes, improved NPC draw distance and animations, and it also added mouse-style controls for Joy-Con enhanced for camera and menu navigation, as well as reducing loading times between story beats, so it was a more seamless experience. For any Harry Potter fan or someone like me who doesn't really know much about it, Hogwarts Legacy delivers a magical open world experience, even if it stumbled at times on the Switch 1. With the Switch 2, it's now worth wandering. Super Mario Odyssey. Now this was a technical showcase for the original hardware, and it targeted 60 FPS, mostly hit it, only with rare dips in complex scenes, and even then, it was probably not that noticeable. Environments were colourful and clean, although some minor aliasing and resolution drops were noticeable in handheld mode. With the Switch 2 upgrade, it's a more subtle refinement than a full overhaul. The resolution is noticeably sharper across docked and handheld modes, the frame rate now holds a rock solid 60 FPS throughout, load times are trimmed down, and input response feels snappier. It's a free upgrade, automatically enhanced on the Switch 2 hardware, with the sharpened resolution, locked FPS, as well as minor visual enhancements to textures and lightings, and it just gave like older levels a bit of a cleaner look. Mario Odyssey is just classic Nintendo magic. It has the inventive levels, the infectious music, and it's pretty much Mario at its best, always ready for the next jump. No Man's Sky, the impossible port on Switch 1, delivering a procedurally generated galaxy into the palm of your hands. Performance was surprisingly solid at launch, and then further enhanced through the Echoes update. However, the later Worlds updates pushed the hardware a bit too far, and that started dragging the performance down to around 24 FPS, introducing stutters during planetary traversal, and combat made the game slow to a crawl. With the Switch 2 upgrade, this is a massive leap forward. Players can now choose between a locked frame rate for consistent visual smoothness, or an uncapped mode for higher peaks at the cost of occasional dips. Visual detail is dramatically increased, denser foliage, richer textures, and clearer skies made exploration feel far more immersive and rewarding, and load times are significantly improved. As always with Hello Games, the upgrade is free, because I think Sean Murray just doesn't like taking our money. I think they're one of the developers I respect the most. They're just incredible, and I've written about them on no end. For, the new content and features are the performance mode, a sharper resolution, improved terrain detail, faster load time when warping, enhanced lighting and weather effects, multiplayer, crossplay and cross-save support which carries over, retains the gyro and touch input with better responsiveness, and has the free beacon update that now adds settlements as well, something that was always missing from the Switch 1 version. From near impossible ambitions to a surprisingly deep universe, No Man's Sky is a rewarding exploration game, and it just keeps expanding. I honestly don't think they'll stop supporting this game, and I'm all for it. Shadow Labrinth. Now this one's a new one, and I just got a review copy, so stay tuned for a review. On the Switch 1, it's a really smooth experience. The frame rate ranges from 45 to 60 FPS, depending on the effects on screen, but thanks to its minimalist and crisp art style, it always looks sharp. Controls are responsive, combat feels tight, even with intense bosses. On the Switch 2, it holds near locked 60 FPS throughout, and while the FPS counter may show occasional dips on screen here, they actually appear due to how the counter reads frames, with no perceptible performance drop during actual gameplay. The visuals are clean and crisp, and responsiveness is excellent. It's a free upgrade for all existing players, so if you haven't upgraded to a Switch 2, further down the track you can get this update at no extra cost. Now, I couldn't find any documented Switch 2 enhancements or feature additions at the time. I can't see anything significant between the two versions, but that said, a review is on the way, and this game is kicking my butt. Like, it's punishingly difficult, harder than Dark Souls in my opinion. It's a very tough, dark dungeon crawler, and it's just snuck up on me with the brutal difficulty and the style of its own. Tamagotchi Plaza. Locked at a stable 30 FPS on the Switch 1, the visuals are clean and vibrant, matching the charming art style of the Tamagotchi universe. On the Switch 2, it's sharp 60 FPS lock across the board, making it feel noticeably smoother and more responsive. There is a paid upgrade pack to get to the Switch 2 version, which costs $15. And then this one doesn't just upgrade the graphics though, it adds new content and features in as well. You get 3 new shops that are exclusive to the Switch 2, a sushi shop, shuriken shop, and a sushi shuriken shop. It also has Joy-Con 2 mouse controls, only for those games though, not for the other games, I'm not sure why. There's a total of 15 shops to explore, offline 2-player mode, and slight improvements in the resolution and UI clarity across the board. It's a nostalgic and quirky little title that my daughter absolutely loved playing. It's perfect for fans of Tamagotchi or just kind of casual gamers as well. There's not a lot of depth there, but it's still quite fun. Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. This was a visually striking game with a fantastic art style. Performance generally held steady at 30 FPS, but had occasional dips during heavy effects or busy scenes, or sometimes even just riding across Hyrule. On the Switch 2, performance is now locked at 60 FPS with no frame rate drops, gameplay feels noticeably more fluid, and visual transitions are sharper and cleaner. It's a free upgrade for anyone with the Switch 2. Like I said, full 60 FPS lock, HDR support for richer colours and contrast, optimised visuals for both handheld and docked, new favourite echoes filter which added easier navigation after collecting 30 plus echoes, and improved UI responsiveness and menu navigation. Echoes of Wisdom enchants with its beautiful art and thoughtful storytelling, and it was such a risk to take the Legend of Zelda series in this direction, and it paid off in my opinion. It was a fantastic game, it was a What's It Like certified exceptional game, and I'm pretty sure I gave it 94 out of 100. It's a journey worth experiencing. Splatoon 3. On the Switch 1, this game targeted 60 FPS and mostly maintained it, with rare dips during chaotic multiplayer matches. Visuals were sharp and vibrant, perfectly suited to the fast-paced gameplay. On the Switch 2, sharper visuals and improved texture clarity and effects are noticeable. Frame rate is locked solidly at 60 FPS with no noticeable drops, and it delivers a smoother and more responsive multiplayer battle. It's a free update for all players who own the Switch 2, and like I said, stable 60 FPS, enhanced textures, reduced input latency, minor UI tweaks. No major gameplay changes though, focusing on performance and polish, no mouse controls, nothing like that. But Splatoon 3 keeps the ink flying with fast, colourful battles and a vibrant community, and it's still as lively as ever. Like, I jumped into a whole bunch of matches for this testing, and I had so much fun. I didn't have to wait for long. So much more improved over the launch title, so if you dip like I did when it launched, well worth going back into. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. I've just wrapped up my review on this one, and on the Switch 1 it mostly targets 30 FPS, but has significant drops in more complex open levels, or if there's many skaters on screen. The LA level is one that kind of grinds to a halt. Gameplay remains smooth enough, but the frame rate dips affect timing in precise trick combos and makes it quite difficult to play. On the Switch 2, it targets 60 FPS, but performance fluctuates between 50 and 60 depending on the level of complexity. Visuals are crisper, load times are noticeably reduced, and it has an improved overall flow. Oddly enough, there's no direct upgrade path here, so you have to purchase the Switch 2 version separately, which is really inconvenient and unfortunate, especially because we're so early in the Switch 2 life cycle. I think they should do these upgrades. I'm quite happy to pay for them, but I think they should support these upgrade paths for at least 12 months. New improved frame pacing on Switch 2 aiming for 60 FPS, sharper textures, better lighting effects, reduced load times between levels. There's also no new gameplay modes or content beyond the original releases, so they don't add anything new for the Switch 2 version. Tony Hawk's is still the king of skateboarding games, and these remasters bring back the sweet thrill of landing the perfect combo. The game was really good. I gave it like 84 out of 100. Thoroughly enjoyed my time with Tony Hawk's, and I still sometimes jump in for a quick round or two. Now, thanks again guys so much for your ongoing support and enthusiasm. Your title suggestions keep this series really fresh and exciting. Please keep them coming. I'm slowly but surely working my way through the lists. I do have obligations to publishers and developers to review games or do certain coverage, but there are plenty more Switch 1 classics and Switch 2 upgrades to cover, so stay tuned for more. And as always, I can't thank you enough for joining me on this journey. For those of you who are new to the channel, this is actually my full-time job, so I appreciate all the support. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Everything you do helps support this channel, and I'm really glad you're here.
Hey, nice dash.
Thanks so much for watching my video. If you liked it, the best way you can support What's It Like is by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with your friends. For more reviews, click on the thumbnails to the right, and for everything Nintendo, check out what'sitlike.com.au.